what does it tell us in terms of the acceptance of the right technologies on the market, and how can the technology and interplay and the balance between regulation and technology can create opportunities for the world of open accounts?
Yes, thank you. If I go back in time, about 20 years ago, this is when I started really to promote technologies in financial services. I was working for Swift already for a number of years then on the IT side, so I could understand technology, and I was starting to help with my Swift hat, help banks, large banks usually, and large corporates adopt technologies. And back then, I think the technology was seen as a cost efficiency opportunity. And I must admit the difficulty at that time, that was early 2000 and up to 2010, financial crisis and so on, there was much resistance. Why would a large bank like an HSBC or another one change? If you own a market, if you own a business, any change is a risk. So there was much resistance for many of the innovations, but there were opportunities to introduce those technologies where change was seen as a cost efficiency opportunity. So resistance was the key word. So regulators already at that time in the payments market, for instance, in Europe with SEPA, Single Euro Payments Area, have been key to force innovation, to force a move away from, for instance, legacy payments formats into pan-European ISO 20022 payments format. Just as an example of how regulators back then, 2001, have been key to drive technology-related innovations. Now, if we fast forward to 2020, and I've been getting out of this Swift world, payments world, and focusing on trade finance and data AI for the last 5 years. Now with COVID, we are in a situation where technology is not seen as a kind of annoying thing for cost efficiency and creating risks for banks, but it is seen as an opportunity for business continuity, work from home. I mean, this conference is taking place thanks to technology, and businesses, financial services continue to operate quite seamlessly, smoothly, also thanks to technology. And definitely the importance of technology has increased on the top management priority list. So it's good. That's why I'm very optimistic of how we on the technology side are able to raise the value we bring to the industry. Looking forward, indeed, what we're doing now is to spot where regulatory obstacles are still prohibiting banks and corporates to use technology much more. And for instance, through one of the trade association, ITFA, we have indeed created a coordination group where we help banks around the world and banking associations understand what is happening in other countries in terms of talking to regulators, advocating for change in laws, for change in practices, in terms of the use of different technologies that are relevant for trade. Digital signatures or electronic signatures, cloud computing, use of alternative data for credit management, and use of DLT for tracking originals. Tracking is key, an important word. The DPESH used in another context, and on the financial world, in the financial world, tracking is key as well. And tracking originals electronically is what DLT enables. And regulators, however, need to change some laws, whichever way they do it, that I leave that to the lawyers. But we see that around the world, in the UK, in Singapore, in India, in Pakistan, Egypt, US, and in the European Union as well, through the EC and EIDAS, many changes are occurring to enable greater use of technology for digitizing some of those practices or documents, such as the bill of exchange or the promissory note, which is still relying on 19th century legal wording. So I see that indeed, thanks to collaboration between various banks, banking associations, and openness on the regulatory side, those changes are coming. It's not for the next 3 months, normally also not for the next 6 months, depending on the topic. Some topics are easier than others. Definitely digitizing negotiable instruments is far more challenging than accepting use of cloud or accepting use of electronic signatures. But I see an openness, certainly in the UK, which is a major market in this world, given the importance of the UK Bill of Exchange Act as a root law for many countries around the world. I see we can expect change following this openness of regulators. There is another point which is making me even more bullish, is that when I see what is happening outside of the trade industry, because let's face it, we are still quite not well understood by regulators, even after all the discussion since the Basel III impact. But I see regulators opening up to new technologies like DLT, tokenization, digital assets, following all the work that the capital markets industry, which is huge, like close to 100 trillion of assets, that industry is preparing a big move or an expansion to digital asset and DLT technology. And that move is going to help us on the trade side, because we know, as I said at the beginning, institutional funding is coming much more actively, proactively